First things first, one thing I want to say, for those that don't know already, on my main channel, Zage, I plan to move away from reviewing One Piece chapters as they come out, because I intend that channel to have more everlasting content rather than content that is here for the moment and then gone by the next week. But I'll continue to talk about One Piece chapters as they come out on my streams like I am now. Currently, One Piece is on a 4-week break, so obviously that won't be anytime soon. However, when that does roll back in, then you'll see me doing those type of streams that I'm talking about right now. A lot of people have requested for me to make a VOD channel, so I made a separate channel called Zage Realm. If you just search up Zage Realm, you should be able to find it, hopefully. I'll put the link in the chat, and I'll put it in the description, although there probably wouldn't be a need because you're already on that page once I put it onto YouTube anyway. I got a bot in my chat, so let me just delete that. Can I delete that? No, I'm just gonna leave it. Alright, that's pretty much all I had to say. So let's talk about 1053, okay? So 1053, we've got some Admiral agendas to talk about, Green Ball to talk about specifically, and one thing I'm curious about is Pluton. So let's talk about Pluton first, because it was confirmed in 1053 that Pluton, the warship, one of the ancient weapons, is in Wano. It's been in Wano all along. And my question is, how? How does that make any sense? And I think that now there must be some sort of connection to the Alabasta Kingdom and the Wano Kingdom. Those are the answers I'm looking for. The reason why I say that is because Crocodile, for whatever reason that we don't actually know, he was very convinced that Pluton was in Alabasta. We don't know why, but Cobra knew about it, and Pluton is a secret that has been passed down throughout the Nefertari family, right? It's like a royal secret. So Cobra knows of its existence. It's attached to the Alabasta history. However, it's been in Wano all along. And the poneglyph in Alabasta said so. Right? So one thing I want to know is, why was Crocodile convinced that Pluton was in Alabasta? And what is the connection between Wano, the Kozuki, and Alabasta and the Nefertari families? Because there must be a connection given how Pluton is actually in Wano. Now, for those that don't know, Pluton is just, if you actually look at the ancient weapons in general, Pluton, Poseidon, Uranus, these are just named after the Roman gods. So Pluton, Pluto, Uranus, Poseidon, which is actually Greek. But you have King Neptune, who would be the opposite of Poseidon for the Roman, right? And then you have the opposite of Pluton, or Pluto, in Greek mythology would be Hades, which is the king of hell. So Pluto is the king of hell. And there's been this talk, kids saying this about Big Mom, and Luffy saying this about Kaido, that they will send them to hell, which they did quite literally, into a volcano, and they're allegedly dead, right? Or that's what we're supposed to believe. But maybe that's where Pluton was all along, and they found it. Another thing is that Big Mom and Kaido were specifically searching for the ancient weapons, as they believed with their combined strength plus the ancient weapons, they will be able to take over or take down the world government, who are the strongest force in the world currently. So if they actually did find it quite literally under the depths of Wano, because they were sent to hell, which is what basically Pluton, or whatever the name is actually inspired by, that would be pretty interesting. However, what I'm more interested about specifically is why Crocodile was convinced that Pluton was in Alabasta, how it has ties to the Nefertari history, and how does it have ties to the Kozuki or the Wano history as well, given the fact that Pluton is in Wano. I really can't piece these pieces of information together. I really can't. But it's something that I feel just needs to happen. So that's pretty much all my thoughts on Pluton. Now the bulk of my thoughts on, One Piece 1053 is definitely Green Bull related. 100%. Green Bull just fought two commanders and bodied them like they were nothing. And he even says that, someone of his position can't be defeated or shouldn't be defeated by pirate subordinates. Right? He just flat out just said, some of your level, you can't fuck with me. Right? Which basically puts to bed this entire absolutely asinine, stupid, dumb argument, agenda that's been pushed for years, that the admirals are closer to Yonko commanders than they are to the Yonko. Obviously that take has kind of fizzled out throughout the years. However, that was a very big thing ever since maybe like 2014, 15 times, when the Dressrosa arc was starting, the end of Punk Hazard, when Doflamingo was kind of sourcing, you know what I'm saying? And I do actually have a video coming out. It is about Fujitora. I do talk about a lot of those stuff as well. So stay tuned for that. I've been, to kind of taking my time making that, mainly because I had a lot going on in the last week. I probably would have had it out already, to be honest. But yeah, he defeated King and Queen, no difficulty. And the funny thing is that I do think the admirals all are conquerors. I think they all have advanced conquerors, and there's nothing to suggest that he even used a fraction of his power to do what he did against King and Queen. And you have some people saying, well, King and Queen, they're not 100%. And, to be fair, it is true, right? Like, King and Queen were definitely health-wise fine, because it's been 7 days since they got defeated, and given the fact that they're Zoans, right, they should be able to fight after 7 days. However, Sanji broke Queen's mecha arm, Zoro broke King's sword and his wing, so it's not really the same. However, the portrayal is that those two, regardless of their state, regardless of their condition, were never going to beat Green Bull anyway, because they're just not strong enough. That's what an admiral's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Now you have Green Bull, who's going to crash the party, where you have Luffy, Kid, Law, Zoro, everyone else, right? Hold on, I've got a phone call. Give me a second. Alright, I'm back. What was I saying? But yeah, Green Bull, regardless of King and Queen, wherever their state of condition was, whether they were healthy or not healthy, the portrayal is that the admirals would have defeated King and Queen and pirate subordinates in general with no difficulty. And the thing is, if you really look back at, like, for example, Marineford, where you have the Whitebeard pirates looking pretty impressive with how they were fighting against top tiers, You have Vista against Mihawk, Marco against all of the Admirals, Jozu against Aokiji. However, specifically with the Admirals and what Akainu was saying to Whitebeard is that they're trying to protect their base. So they can't use their full powers because, as we've seen against Akainu and Aokiji's fight, right, however long that it took them to create, an island of half ice and half magma, they can cause wide-scale destruction with their abilities that they don't want to do. So they were completely suppressed, and the extent to which they were suppressed was really shown with Greeble bodying King and Queen. Because put it this way, okay, King and Marco, there's arguments for either. I'd say King is stronger. Just a quick rundown of King versus Marco. You have King, who is able to fight and keep up with Marco even with his flames on, and with his flames off he's a little faster. So King's at his fastest speed is probably a little faster than Marco. Marco's has really good endurance through regeneration, and King has really good endurance through his Lunarian trait. King's able to take Zoro's attacks that were able to damage Kaido. Marco is just regeneration, but that has a limit. So before it hits his limit, he can basically regenerate from anything, as far as we know. They're pretty matched in a way, right? But I'd say King probably has a little touch of an advantage in that particular matchup, right? But forget King versus Marco, you have a whole nother person to deal with, which is Queen. And the way it was portrayed with King and Queen versus Marco, although Marco is strong enough to stall them out for a little bit, which is kudos to Marco for doing that, they can't actually beat King and Queen together. They can't do that. He can't do that. However, you have Greenbull here, who beat King and Queen with other beast pirates alongside them, and there's not a scratch on him. He literally just negatived them, no problems. So when you look back at the Whitebeard Pirates versus the Admirals in Marineford, that just goes to show how much they were suppressed, because Greenbull doesn't look like he was even trying against King and Queen. Bro, the guy has a sword and he didn't even use it. So that's just to really put things into perspective on the difference between the Admirals and Yonko's subordinates and pirate subordinates in general, which should be a no-brainer. The only person that is an exception a little is Ben Beckman, and the reason why he's an exception is because in his Vivid card it is stated that his presence is equal to that of Shanks's, and although that's not necessarily outright saying that he's equal to Shanks in strength, presence and how you're perceived in the world does correlate to one's strength. So Ben Beckman, having the same stature in the world as a Shanks definitely portrays his strength to be a top tier, and not like King, Queen, Marco, and some of the others, right? There's also another statement, and this was referencing, when Ben Beckman stopped Kizaru in Marineford, about how even Kizaru is wary of the threat of Ben Beckman. That's not to say that Kizaru is scared of him or anything, because as we know, Kizaru just continued with his attack anyway. However, he took heed to Beckman a little bit. He was a bit wary of him because he's not just your average Joe. But then you have to put into perspective as well the type of person that Kizaru is. Kizaru is the same guy that was confident and able to deal with the Big Mom and Kaido linking up situation. He was confident to get in between Big Mom and Kaido linking up. And Akainu didn't have a problem with that at all aside from the fact that there was an unknown military power in Wano that he couldn't prepare for, which in hindsight is very stupid, but he doesn't know that, since, you know, the legend of Wano with those like Ryuma and Odin make it appear to be a lot stronger than it actually is, right? So Beckman's the only exception to the whole pirate subordinates thing, right? Solid Dev says, if Greenwood takes on the alliance by himself, the admirals are definitely stronger than the average Yonko. That's a no-brainer. 100% that is true. And the thing is, if you look back at every single admiral introduction, they were portrayed as a major threat to the protagonists. For example, you have when Aokiji was introduced. And then he decided, nah, I'm just gonna kill you, Luffy, right now. And the Monster Trio tried to step up to Aokiji, and they got destroyed. Robin got put in an ice pack. It was over, right? Then you look at in Shabondi with Kizaru's introduction, all the supernova, left, right, center, baba, done. They were getting negative to left, right, center. Then Akainu in Marineford, although, you know, he had some setbacks, for the most part, he was definitely the most dominating force in Marineford, bar none. Aside from, you could say Whitebeard, but it was basically everyone versus Whitebeard for a lot of Marineford. Akainu put a hole in Whitebeard's chest, took off half his face, fought all the Whitebeard commanders after basically killing Whitebeard, or, you know, doing most of the work to kill Whitebeard. Akainu was a major threat. Even post Marineford, when Blackbeard was trying to get a ship from the Navy, they literally ran away when they found out that Akainu was on board. And then you have a Daybook statement in the Vivo card suggesting that Van Orgar, who's the one that spotted Akainu, he's the lookout of the crew, and he tells the crew when he's in danger and stuff, right? So Akainu by himself was a threat to the entire crew. Twisty says everyone against Whitebeard is a big statement. I mean, it kind of was everyone against Whitebeard, bro. I'm not saying that they all jumped him at the exact same time, but like, I'm saying that he had a lot of obstacles to go through. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I know two admirals did not gang up on him, but he still had a lot of obstacles. That's what I'm trying to say. And then you have Fujitora, who in Dressrosa was on. He was kind of like he wasn't the aggressor. In the Dressrosa arc, Fujitora was definitely not the aggressor until at the end of the arc. At the end of the arc, to basically like save face, he had to make it seem as though he was going after Luffy, Law, and the new Straw Hat Alliance from Dressrosa. By doing so, he lifted up all the rubble in Dressrosa, created a massive meteor, basically, and that meteor was about to just get dunked on them, basically. So Fujitora was a threat to the entire Dressrosa alliance just with that single move. And now you have Green Bull who's going to crash the party, where he intends to kill Luffy. And then you have Kid and Law who have equal bounties to Luffy. And the entire pirate, samurai, mink alliance. To me, it seems like it might be something similar to a whole Fujitora situation from Dressrosa, where in some way, shape or form, Green Bull is going to be posed as a threat to the entire alliance. So, I don't know. I also made this tweet, which I find kind of funny, and it depends because let's see if history will reward me for this, right? I made a tweet, I'll try to put it on the screen, when Green Bull said that he was going to kill Luffy. This is what I said. I said that, hold on, let me try to find it. Green Bull, an admiral by the way, is confident he can kill the man that defeated Kaido. So what does that say about him? I'll put that one on the screen. A second. Let's see if history will reward me for this one. Green Bull, an admiral by the way, is confident he can kill the man that defeated Kaido. So what does that say about him? And then I was going through, you know, the comments. Bro, these comments were, they were cooking my mentions that day. They were cooking in the mentions, bro. Look at this. Someone saying, bro, there's no way Green Bull beating all of them. He's not built like Hashirama. I guess. I'm not saying that he will body all of them. Definitely not. But that only says that he has another god fruit, as in Skypiea. We get to know 4 gods. Luffy turned out to be the sun god. We still got rain, forest, and earth gods. Green Bull's probably the forest god. Okay, we've got some theories there. These should help us scale the true strength of the admirals. Maybe. I'm calling it right. I'm calling it now. This is a great cliffhanger, but somehow Oda will make Green Bull come back, as Sakazuki would get in touch with him or something for a 4-week break. This is just too juicy. Maybe. Now, then you see these are alright. These are alright comments. But then there was a lot of comments that were basically saying, "Oh, Green Bull's just an idiot. You know, being confident means nothing. Oh, he getting humbled." I think Green Bull is just cocky, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? He's on the same level as the guys who freeze the ocean, fought Whitebeard, fought the right hand of the Pirate King, and put Law and Dofi to dance at the same time. He's a fucking idiot. Apparently Green Bull is. Don Krieg also believed he's the strongest. Look. He's overconfident, he's cocky, he's arrogant, That's basically the whole gist, right, of when I tweeted that. But I'm not saying that confidence in of itself is enough, you know, to make like a definitive claim on someone's strength. Someone being confident doesn't necessarily mean that they are as strong as they prop themselves to be. However, usually between top tiers, they don't just outwardly suggest that they are stronger than another top tier. Generally, they don't really do that. And sometimes when they do, it's actually true. For example, when Mihawk met Shanks, and Shanks thought that he came for a fight. Mihawk said that he's not interested in their fight anymore now that Shanks has one arm. Now, whether you think Mihawk is stronger than Shanks or not, it's very clear that Mihawk is trying to like insinuate that he's not worth his time anymore. Pretty much, right? He's basically implying that he's stronger than him. Then you have, for example, when Whitebeard met Shanks. And Whitebeard, when Shanks was trying to tell him what to do, was like, you're 100 years too early to tell me what to do. I am Whitebeard. And he was very confident, since he was the king of the seas, the closest man to One Piece. His death was what actually led to the Throne Wars. His confidence made sense as to why he believed him being Whitebeard was enough to put himself above Shanks. Then you have Akainu and Whitebeard. Akainu flat out said that he's going to give him like a fiery funeral. And then when Whitebeard and Akainu fought, it was very clear that Akainu was the superior of the two. So all I'm saying is that there is a little bit of a precedent of some top tiers that have implied that they are stronger than other top tiers that are actually true. There are other times in which there are characters like Don Krieg, like Jack, when Jack pulled up on the marine ship that had Fujitora and Sengoku and he was trying to get back Doflamingo. Of course, there are some times when confidence does not equate to the reality of what they are confident in. Right? However, all I'm saying is I genuinely would not rule off Green Bull looking like he's stronger than Luffy or being a major threat to him. Like, it will be a very big threat to him in some way, shape or form. Because there's no way that an admiral gets introduced, given how all the previous admirals were introduced, and Green Bull was the first one just to look bad and not look like a dominating threat to the protagonists of that given arc. It just doesn't make sense to me. Alright, Future says, I find it funny that Green Bull is being immediately disposed by the community because of advanced Conqueror's users, or they beat a Yonko. But Law and Kid defeated a Yonko comparable to Kaido with Awakening alone, but they only use them as last resort, meaning they can't usually use it all the time, while Green Bull is walking using it to destroy an army. That is fair. But the thing is that, I mean, it depends how you view Law Kid versus Big Mom, because in my opinion, I don't think Big Mom went all out. I don't think that was the peak of her powers. I don't think Law and Kid and what they did to Big Mom was a representation of their joint powers being enough to beat any given Yonko or someone of that caliber. But I understand what you're trying to say in a general sense, for sure. You know, because with Killer Law's Awakenings, it was very taxing on them. They could only use a few, but it seems like Green Bull can just walk around making plants around him like it's nothing. The guy's just, you know, a normal awakened mastered fruit user, so yeah. It wasn't clear for anime watchers. Is that about Kainu versus Whitebeard? I guess so. I guess so. But yeah, you know, so Future says Shiki fought Garp and Sengoku 2 equals to Roger and Whitebeard, yet with his ability he still managed to destroy half of Marineford. Everyone would say that this is a neg to low diff, but you see how Shiki's ability makes it harder on his opponent. The Admirals are basically the same. Yeah, Shiki, I mean, we never saw that fight, it was off screen. But given their abilities, you know, Sengoku has shockwaves that is very destructive, and Shiki, whatever he touches, can, you know, be levitating and stuff. It makes sense that half of Marineford was destroyed. But I think for it to even get to that point, I mean, Shiki definitely put in some work. And Shiki was talking heavy to Garp and Sengoku. He didn't respect them at all. He respected Roger and what he became, but he did not respect the Marines at all. Even though Garp would put him in a pack. He would put him in a pack low-key. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about a character's confidence. Sometimes, like Bellamy in Jaya, his confidence was no good. No good at all. Because he was ignorant and thought that he was that guy, but he was not that guy. Do you know what I'm saying? But then you have the others that I mentioned earlier, where it's possible. It's possible. So, if Green Bull, I guess the last thing with Green Bull to talk about really and truly would be whether he has a black blade or not. I would run a poll, so just let me know in the chat, since we don't have that many, but like, let me know in the chat if you think Green Bull has a black blade. Those watching it on the VOD, put it in the comments. Do you think that Green Bull has a black blade? And then I'll give you my take on it. I do think, you know, I mean, if Green Bull does have a black blade, it's basically a stamped Zoro fight. Does that mean that Green Bull is Ushimaru all along? Hell no. I do not think Ushimaru is built like that to be having a black blade. I don't give a fuck that this guy is related to Ryuma. He ain't that guy at all. And already we know that Ushimaru is not Zoro's dad, as Oda basically confirmed in SPS. So, you know, personally, I don't believe Green Bull has a black blade. If he does, then that's cool. I'm not saying that he definitely can't. I mean, it's fine. An Admiral having a black blade makes sense. But I just don't believe it. I don't believe that that's actually a black blade. I don't believe so. Twisty says, either it's a black blade and Zoro gets to fight him at some point. If not, then I guess it's a blade made of his fruit. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I was kind of thinking maybe it was like some vine ropes that he made into a sword or some shit. Bro, I don't know, bro. Like some shit, like the guy that he has like a wood style sword or something. And then he just clads it with almond haki. Makes a regular wooden sword into like a like a supreme grade level type of shit. Just for this haki alone makes it that powerful. But personally, I doubt that he has a black blade. That'd be kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Future says, I'm skeptic that he has one, but from the drawing it seems he has one. If he does, then he's stronger than Odin. I mean, look. I do agree that it definitely looks like he has a black blade. I mean, looking at it, it definitely doesn't look like a black blade. But I don't know for sure. As far as Odin, I mean, look, if he's stronger than Odin, then low key, like his confidence that he can kill Luffy is actually warranted, bro. It's unironically warranted. Yo, it's actually warranted, bro, because Odin, bro. Odin. Yo, Kaido never saw the monstrous samurai. He never met a samurai as monstrous as Odin. The only guy that made him, or has made us question Kaido's mortality, is Odin. If he's stronger than Odin, I'm not gonna lie. I think Green Bull's stronger than Kaido too. Right now, I'm not gonna say he is, just based on him talking, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't believe it'd be treading in that direction, for sure. As in, like, Green Bull can be, not that he definitely is, but in like hindsight, like let's say Green Bull is fighting against Law Kid and Luffy, and he's kind of saucing on them. Then in hindsight, we can look back at his introduction and how he was talking smack about killing Luffy and stuff. You'd be like, yeah, low key, the guy was on the money. And then when you have someone like Kizaru as well, who is confident he can deal with the Big Mom Kaido situation, I mean, it's very clear that admirals are portrayed as though that they can deal with the threat of 2 Yonko. Not necessarily beat 2 Yonko, but they can deal with the threat of 2 Yonko. It's not something that is actually suggested to be out of their capabilities. Not at all. Like, not at all. And then you have Green Bull by himself that's just walking in. He's requested a battleship, but he's going into the Fire Festival by himself. He's genuinely about to just walk in on some Thanos shit and he's genuinely about to walk in on some Thanos shit and just like rip these guys apart, bro. What's up, God of Light? I appreciate the follow, by the way. Yo, man. Hey, but look. We'll see. Green Bull, I can't lie, I've got stocks in Green Bull. I do have stocks in Green Bull, man. There's one thing that you never do is bet against an admiral in their introduction. You don't do it. Solid Dev says Kaido's strongest pirate, not strongest man, for a reason. Low key. I can hear that Akainu level shit talk from him. Yeah, that's the thing, because like there's like a theory that's been going on for a long time that Green Bull Fujitora are basically kind of like parts of Aokiji and one of the other admirals. So red and blue makes purple, which is Fujitora. Fujitora, his characterization is someone who is a little laid back like Aokiji, has a more moderate sense of justice. He doesn't believe in absolute justice like Aokiji. However, he's very, very, very strongly against piracy. That's the reason why he blinded himself, because of the evils of the world. So in that sense, he's similar to Akainu. So you can kind of see from his characterization the traits of Akainu and the traits of Aokiji. With Green Bull, green is a makeup of blue and yellow. So the yellow part, Kizaru, maybe his more carefree nature, where Green Bull is a little slow and carefree. Green Bull is a little bit erratic and carefree. Kizaru also doesn't really act as much of a leader. He kind of supports Akainu as like a right-hand man type of like dynamic. And Green Bull supports Akainu and his ideals. I don't think that Green Bull shares the exact philosophy of justice as Akainu, although he might also be a proponent of absolute justice. However, he kind of does respect it. He does respect Akainu's, not cutting any edges type of philosophy and way of doing things. So maybe that's the comparison between Green Bull and Kizaru. However, with Aokiji, it's hard to say what it even is, because the only thing I can think of is what his true justice really is. Whatever his true justice really is will determine the comparison with Aokiji, because there's an SBS. I'll try to find it and I'll read it out, because there's a lot of times I've mentioned it at this point and I haven't really quoted it word for word. So I'm going to find it real quick. Okay. Damn, man. Okay, so this is the question. It's a very long SBS. I'll put it on the screen right now. Alright, let's go through this. So this is the SBS. The question is, remember that question in volume 75 about the reason you used tiger and bull as the animals for the new Navy admirals, or naval admirals? Well, I've got an idea. We know that the original three of Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru mean red dog, blue pheasant, and yellow monkey respectively. And in the fairy tale of Momotaro, the boy born from a peach befriends a dog, pheasant, and monkey, who join him on his travels as he seeks to vanquish the army of demonic Oni on the island of Onigashima. And how are Oni usually depicted? With tiger skin, lion cloth, and bull horns. So here's my interpretation. The animals on Momotaro's side stand for law and order, and the Oni stand for pirates. Since we know that Fujitora wants to abolish the world government's 7 warlords of the sea system, is it possible that Ryukugyu and Fujitora, the 2 newest admirals, are both Navy men who bear some kind of rebellious streak against the powers that be? Rebellious streak against the powers that be. Assuming that anti-government means pirates, what do you think? Am I on the right track? That is what some guy asked Oda, and this is Oda's response. Huh? Me? Panic? Question mark. Cold sweat. Why would I do that? That's silly. So he's already joking around. Well, that's a whole lot of complex information you just shared. If anyone wants to read anything into that, they are certainly welcome to do so. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, that's all. He has a sweat drop. I'm just saying that this was a letter I received and now you have seen it for yourselves. Anyway, the SBS is now finished. At the end of the volume, you'll find the results of the latest character popularity poll that we ran in Japan. For some reason, we forgot to do a present lottery for those who sent in their votes. It's been 6 years since the last one after all. Thanks to everyone who voted in the poll. Go ahead and see where your favorite placed. I mean, it seems to me that Oda kind of ran away from the question because low-key, the question was on the money. So whatever Green Bull's real philosophy of justice is, I do think in some way, shape or form, it's not necessarily exactly like Fujitora's where he's a full-on rebellion, but he kind of does have a rebellious philosophy against the current world government and what it stands for right now. That's the way I see it. However, it doesn't really mix well with his current characterization where he actually likes and respects Akainu's not cutting any edges type of way of doing things, and that would extend to probably his philosophy of absolute justice. So that's just some food for thought. We'll see how that actually translates to anything. But yeah, that's the theory about the admirals and the colors, and how Fujitora is a blend of Aokiji Akainu, and Green Bull is a blend of Kizaru and Akainu. Oh, sorry, Kizaru and Aokiji, sorry. So we'll see.